Roman is a part-timer now, and he's got two of the most important prizes in WWE, the Universal and WWE Championship. And we are approaching a very busy season for WWE, stadium season. We got 3 stadium shows in 3 months. We've got Money in the Bank in Las Vegas, SummerSlam in Nashville, and the big one, which would be the most attended show overseas possibly ever, will be the show Clash at the Castle going down in Cardiff, Wales in September. So with all of this being said, Roman Reigns working not house shows so much, televisions, yes, pay-per-views, only the big ones, the big 4, maybe the big 5, but otherwise he's going on break. So after we crowned him God at WrestleMania this past April, it's now time to wonder who's got next. I think that's been the key question on this show since its inception last fall. And I wanted us to brainstorm possibilities because we know deep down in our hearts the 2 obvious picks is Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. And that's cute. That's a sexy pick, but we want unpredictability. We want to go through the reign of Roman Reigns. And we want to go through the storylines and feuds we've been a part of and wonder to ourselves, who else could be in line for these championships? Because we need people on Raw and SmackDown as champions if Roman's going to be winding down a full-time schedule in WWE. So Scott, the news is broken. Roman Reigns, part-timer now. He's got both belts. I assume that will not be the case heading into the fall, and he really doesn't need these belts heading into next year's WrestleMania if he's going to face The Rock in LA. So outside of Drew McIntyre and or Cody Rhodes, who are your 2 guys to be the champs on Raw and SmackDown moving forward?
So I told you I had hot takes, and I'm going to give you a hot take right off the bat. I think a great way to bring this story full circle, I would have Jey Uso beat Roman Reigns for the title. I just, when I think of the story and the most emotional I have ever been in this story, it's when Jey Uso was involved. And I've been saying for a while that they should have been protecting Jey Uso. He should have been main event Jey Uso, and he should have been winning every singles match he was in. And Jimmy, who's been right there, should have been taking every loss. And if you do that, Jay's ready. And I still think you can build him up and have him ready because he's the guy who's always watching Roman. He's the guy who's always studying with Roman. He's the guy who's always with Roman. He's the guy who can get in Roman's head in a different way. And man, you want to talk about a real feel-good moment that plays into the story. Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns, you run that back one more time. I think there's something there, and it doesn't. Every title win reign doesn't have to be this long, year-long, incredible thing like we just saw with Roman. Sometimes a babyface can just pull out a win out of nowhere and just have that big moment. And I think you can do that with a Jey Uso, and you can transition to whoever you want to. But man, I just think that there's a moment right there that brings a story full circle. And you create a legit main event guy, which you already created in Jey Uso. You had a main event guy ready, and they didn't run with them. I just think there's something there. And then my next choice is an obvious. I think it's kind of an obvious one. Is Seth Rollins. I think the crowd is kind of ready to get behind him. I'm not a fan of him and Cody going 3 times in a row. This is WWEing it up. They going WWE, and instead of them just keeping them apart right now, like let Cody have the 2 wins and move Seth on. They're gonna do this 3rd one, and I don't like that. But I think he would be the next logical choice. I would say Bobby Lashley, but I feel like he's about to lose to Omos. And what are they doing with there? That's happening. It's got to be between those 2. Austin Theory's not ready yet, or he would have beat Cody if he was ready, and Cody shouldn't be taking no losses. So it's got to be one of those 2, Bobby Lashley or Seth Rollins, and I'm going to take Seth Rollins between the 2.
So Scott has completely stolen my pick. Both of them, really. I had Jay and Seth. Those are my picks. Those were the spiciest options available that told the best stories in the last couple of years. And I'm totally in agreement. It could be Jey Uso. It should be Jey Uso, the guy that was gaslit the most by his own cousin. Jimmy got gaslit too. And he was the one that came back saying, I'm nobody's bitch. And guess what? You became Roman's bitch about a month into your return. And look at where we are right now. Maybe Jay will see the light one day. Maybe he will say, I am going to be the new head of the table in your absence, since you're going to be a part-time head of the table, a part-time Uce, so to speak. So I'm totally in agreement with those picks. So CJ, as you've got your freshly minted Cody Rhodes tattoo firmly on your neck, you can't pick them for this particular option here, but who are your two guys that you would say should be next in line to become the WWE and/or Universal Champion?
Okay, so while it's really hard to look past Joe Gacy, I actually read this question wrong. I didn't realize it was other than Cody and McIntyre, because I was just like, oh, Cody, easy. But you said that now, and I had a quick think. I really like the Jey Uso winning the title it's a good take. Like, it's a really good temperature, almost a boiling point. I really like that. And it calls back to that storyline. But I had Randy Orton as one, just because I watched Backlash. Like, I only watch the pay-per-views now. And by the way, if you only watch the pay-per-views, decent product, but we'll talk about that later. Randy Orton's hot tag in that 6-man tag match main event, he was so over, and like, he just does his bonkers stuff in his hot tag, and I was like, man, maybe Randy and Roman, I think the match would be really good. And I think that Randy's like super over as a babyface. I mean, I don't know if RK Bro need to split before then, but I don't know. I really like that idea. And if we're not going with McIntyre or the roller coaster, I'd say Orton. I like Rollins, but I want to go wild card and say Gunther. Is it Gunther? Like a soft TH, or is it Gunther? Like, I just want to call him Walter, but I do think if he was going to beat Roman, he'd have to just delete him, though. Like, it'd have to be like a Lesnar and Cena at SummerSlam situation. But my two, besides Cody, who I cannot believe how much I love right now, is Randy Orton and Walter. I hate saying Gunther, sorry.
I like those picks as well. Randy is so over right now. I laughed out loud when he randomly said off the cuff, by the way, Roman, I'm taller than you. That had me cracking up on SmackDown. Randy Orton, and we've professed love for this man every single week for the last month or so. He's the best, and he's on a roll right now, and I would not be opposed to seeing Roman versus Randy at a SummerSlam. Why not? Randy's over right now. Every time he comes out there, he is the most over guy in the building besides Roman Reigns, and that would be a money feud, and I just love their dynamic, and we'll get to SmackDown soon, but that's not a bad pick. And Gunther, I had probably feuding with Drew McIntyre post Clash at the Castle. There'd be a nice fall feud if Roman is not going to be on TV as much. So I like that pick as well. So I think ultimately it really comes down to life after Roman Reigns not being a full-time star in WWE. So CJ, what's your take on that, knowing that Roman, who has been the face of this company, really as a true blue heel, being over for the first time in his career the last couple of years, getting paid to really work less dates. And now we're going to wonder what it's like when Roman is not all over these shows. I'm going to miss the entrances. I'm going to miss the pay-per-view appearances when they're not the big 4 or 5 now.
Before I answer, I just want to say, imagine living in Trenton and Roman Reigns is basically saying, "I'm not coming back here anymore. Sorry, like this, I don't care." It's like, I thought when I read it, I was like, "Oh man, he's getting the part-time schedule." I was like, "Oh, it feels soon." But then again, like, if you can take it, get it, dude. Like this, he doesn't owe us anything. Like, if he can get more money and do less, like, isn't that what we all want out of life? I think he should. I think it's good. It's just, it is concerning from a show quality standpoint, because I think he's basically the best part week for week, and the whole thing with Wiseman, I don't know what he's going to do. Lord knows Ronda Rousey could use a manager, but I don't know. Look, I don't watch these shows anymore, but if I was watching them, I'd be kind of worried, because generally the highlight is Roman Reigns. But I think for him, it's good for sure. And it is kind of scary though, because we just said Randy Orton's super over, maybe as over as Roman, but Roman still kind of hits different, I think, as a wrestler on this show. So it's kind of, they kind of need to get someone next up to be as big or bigger when Roman's not going to be there as much. And that's kind of what's concerning. So, I mean, Joe Gacy's right there. So what are we doing? But
no, we're not going to speak that into existence on this show. Joe Gacy will not be the next guy up to be the future champion, head of the table of Druids and the face of SmackDown. Hey, listen, in this case, fuck exclusivity or whatever that word is. Exclusivity, inclusion, peace, love, all that shit. Like Joe Gacy can kick rocks because just keep him on NXT. No offense to him. Otherwise, I'm inclusive as fuck, just not for him. But it is scary that this news kind of came out of nowhere that Roman's like, well, listen, y'all, I'm going on break. I see you on the other side. And good for him. The fact that WWE pulled up the Brinks truck and gave him a bag that is probably on Brock Lesnar levels of cash. Good for you. But it is concerning that WWE has built this entire company around Roman and this title reign, which is prolific. And I've always said on this show, who is going to be the one to benefit from this when it's all said and done? Who are you going to make from this reign? We'll find out soon enough. But Scott, when you heard the news that Roman's like, well, you know what? I've had a good run full time. Now I'm going to be part time. Maybe dip my toe in Hollywood, make that transition out of WWE in maybe 2 or 3 years. I think it's a little eerie knowing that John Cena did one movie in 2014, Trainwreck, and we have not seen him on a full-time basis since.
Well, I think we're seeing the beginnings of that next phase in Cody Rhodes. Like they're clearly grooming Cody Rhodes to take that spot. I think what CJ said about Roman just hitting different. I mean, that's spot on. Cody hits different too, but it's different. And Roman is just, he just feels like the main event. He feels like the attraction. He feels like what Cody felt like in AEW. Cody don't feel like that here right now. Doesn't mean he doesn't feel like a big deal, but he's certainly not that marquee like Roman is, but he's getting there. And I'm not a fan of him facing Seth Rollins 3 times because he should beat Rollins if he's going to face him 3 times. If they're going to do the Hell in a Cell, he needs to beat Rollins. I don't like that. But that's how you establish a guy and make him your face of the brand. He shouldn't have been in the ring with Theory if you're going to do that. Like, these are the things you don't do, and these are the things they didn't do with Roman, and that's kind of why guys can't get to that level. Like, Roman doesn't have DQ finishes during his matches. That's not what's going on. I think the only DQ finish he had was against Xavier Woods when Woods beat him. I think that's the only DQ finish he's had. And so, like, that's the difference between Roman and everybody else. There's care in his stories. There's care in what goes on in his finishes. You've got to take that same care with whoever you're doing. And you've already taken, like, you joke about Joe Gacy, but god dag, look at what they're doing to my man Braun Breaker. Look how they massacred my boy. It's not irreparable, but it's like, why are you doing this? You know, like you got the pay per hour Druids out there attacking Braun Breaker, and it's like, why are we doing that? You're not doing that with Roman, like, and that's what separates him. You're starting to do that with Cody. You already have a DQ finish with Austin Theory in a match that just did not need to happen. Like, why are you putting that match out there? It makes no sense. You better stop putting Cody Rhodes on TV. You want him to feel special like Roman? You better stop putting him on Raw and have him have these 20-minute matches. That's not how you keep him special. That's why Roman's special. So if they want to make guys special, you have to give him that same care and treat him like a marquee guy. And you know what? Maybe it's time to start treating these women like your marquees. Bianca Belair is still right there, man. Like, what does she have to do? The crowd is completely with her. Like, they're ready to celebrate her as the face of the company. Like, you can hear people with her. Like, just run with that, man. Like, I don't know, man. You have the options. The women are right there instead of Ronda. There's other women right there. You just got to run with who you got, and they got the horses. They're just not riding them.
I actually
got to run now.
Yeah, like why don't we just have this shift where, because this is a way they can kind of dunk on AEW and be like, look at who we've got on our women's side.
Exactly.
You know, and just like maybe we can go into this phase where it's Bianca, Becky, Rhea Ripley, Ronda, Charlotte, Bayley's coming back, Asuka's there. So like you've got all of this, like why isn't this just the main event scene that has been, you know, populated by dudes since the beginning of time? Like why don't you kind of go in that direction as a sort of new phase of WWE? Because you can.